I want you to think about a specific injustice that prompts you to feel like taking on the world in order to see change. One that maybe seems outside of your control, but that you would do whatever you could to help. For some of us, this injustice may be local, global, related to a policy, a poverty, a sickness, or a variety of other possibilities. For me, it is the captive wildlife crisis. Nothing inspires more feelings of anger within me than seeing a beautiful, powerful, majestic animal, big or small, unfairly kept behind bars for the viewing pleasure of humans. Not only is this a cruelty to the animal, but it is a complete failure on our part, given the responsibility we have to respect, protect, and to acknowledge the inherent value that all living beings possess. Now, once again, I want you to imagine the particular injustice that you previously identified the greatest with. Once you have it in your mind, imagine discovering a person or a place providing a solution to this injustice. Consider the relief, the hope, the encouragement, and the joy you would feel upon learning of this person or place. Well, that is exactly how I felt when I discovered the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Keanesburg, Colorado. Like a breath of fresh air, this place is an example of the safety, the freedom, and the wellness that all animals deserve. It is literally a refuge for animals who have been unfairly caught up in the captive wildlife crisis, the illegal wildlife trade, and the selfishness of many humans. In fact, did you know that such selfishness has allowed the number of captive tigers in Texas to outnumber those that exist in the wild? Or that the illegal wildlife trade is estimated to be a multi-billion-dollar business funding the ongoing and unlawful trade of living wildlife and/or their parts. And these are just a few of the many disheartening facts related to the captive wildlife crisis occurring right here in our nation and in many places around the world. However, let me tell you a little bit more about how I came to know of the sanctuary and why this place is such a rare jewel for rescued wildlife. It was through a phone call with a dear friend of mine that I learned about the Wild Animal Sanctuary and its founder, Pat Craig. After discovering more about the sanctuary through its website, I decided to reach out to Pat to see if I could come visit for myself and create this mini Why Should You Care documentary that you are now watching. Well, through Pat's first email response, I immediately sensed the responsibility and the focus that he maintains for all of the animals at the sanctuary. This is not a zoo or circus where visitors are encouraged to come interact with the animals or to watch them perform. This is a sanctuary of freedom, a place of recovery, and an authentic expression of how animals might otherwise freely behave in the wild. So, after various email conversations, I jumped on a plane and headed to the sanctuary with my sister, who lives just an hour away in Denver. And what I discovered upon arrival at the Wild Animal Sanctuary was one of the largest, most open, and natural habitats for rescued animals that I have ever seen. Specifically, as Pat had previously explained to me, the sanctuary exists to rescue and provide a permanent home for wild animals that have been abused, abandoned, displaced, or neglected. Almost all the animals at the sanctuary were either confiscated by law enforcement or taken from individuals who selfishly decided to try and keep them as pets. In other cases, they were rescued directly from acclaimed zoos or wildlife facilities that held them in cruel forms of captivity. One such example is this beautiful Bengal tiger, who was recently rescued as one of the many big cats kept at the acclaimed Tiger King's facility in Texas. And now she is free to roam on open acres of land without being forced to entertain or to act in any way against her will. Another example is this majestic wolf, who was one of 18 animals rescued from inside a mall in Iowa, where a man kept them inside cages for what he called a wildlife education display. This beautiful animal was forced to live on concrete floors with no sunlight or fresh air to be had. Quite different from the life she now enjoys openly and freely at the Wild Animal Sanctuary. And sweet Jake and Max, two Kodiak grizzly bears, were kept at an amusement park in Florida in order to entice visitors and to increase ticket sales. But now they get to romp around, dig as many burrows as they would like, and enjoy access to their very own waterfall. Other animals provided freedom at the sanctuary include bobcats, jaguars, some adorable foxes, lions, Syrian brown bears, coyotes, playful hyenas, and many, many others. Guests are comfortably able to visit each animal's habitat by walking along the over 1.5 mile into the wild elevated walkway. And did I mention that this walkway sets the Guinness World Record for the longest raised platform? How cool is that? Additionally, the raised viewing platform allows the animals to avoid direct stressful interaction with any visitors, unlike the case at most zoos where wild animals are forced into close viewing proximity with guests without having ample room to hide. This is just another well thought out and compassionate element of the wild animal sanctuary design that made my heart jump for joy. Each habitat even has an underground den where animals can take refuge to stay warm in cold weather and cool in hot. The animals are fed at various times throughout the week to mimic what their intake would be like in the wild, and on average, the sanctuary goes through 85,000 pounds of animal food each week. They even have their own on-site carnivore nutrition center to take on this heavy food prep load, along with a full vet staff to care for the animals and many dedicated volunteers. And while Brooke and I were there, we had the wonderful opportunity to hitch a ride with an animal caretaker to view what their daily care route down on the floor looks like. Along the way, Marley, the adorable brown bear, gave us a visit. Marley was taken from a horrible situation where she was kept in a concrete pit and thrown food by passerbys. I can only imagine the joy she felt when reaching the grass and the open spaces of the sanctuary. And while I could go on forever about the stories of each of the rescued animals, I would like to wrap up by saying how grateful I am that such a place like the Wild Animal Sanctuary exists. As the captive wildlife conflict continues to be an ongoing problem, it provides me with hope to know that Pat Craig and his team at the sanctuary are dedicated to providing freedom to as many rescued animals as possible. And as a nonprofit, the care of the animals is made possible by people just like you, who choose to visit the sanctuary, donate online, and spread the word about their amazing work. Because as Pat says, saving one animal may not change the world, but surely for that one animal, the world will change forever. So if you would like to learn more, visit the sanctuary, adopt an animal, or possibly make a donation, please visit their website at www.wildanimalsanctuary.org. You can also follow them on Instagram to learn more amazing animal rescue stories and about the ongoing captive wildlife crisis. Additionally, make sure to stay up to date on what legislation, like for example, the Big Cat Public Safety Act, is being proposed by Congress. Your voice matters and can help to change the future for captive wildlife in this country. You can head to my Why Should You Care website to listen to a super interesting and thought-provoking podcast that I had with Pat Craig himself. A big thank you to the Wild Animal Sanctuary for your life-saving work and for allowing us to visit. Personally, I promise to support the sanctuary for as long as I can, because its mission and the lives of all animals matter, whether captive, wild, or rescued.